What happens when the guy who signs the paychecks puts on an apron and no one knows who he really is? Quentin Teller stood in front of the mirror in his downtown apartment, adjusting his fake beard for the third time. He'd bought the coffee company 8 years ago, 11 locations spread across the state, but it had been at least 5 years since he'd stepped foot in any of them. His face wasn't on any posters, no social media presence. No one at the stores, especially the newer hires, had ever met him. That was by design. He used to know every barista by name. Now he barely recognized half the managers on the district reports. The shift had crept up on him. At first, it was about scaling the business. Then it became about meetings, investments, and expansion. But when an anonymous customer complaint landed in his inbox, one meant for a generic feedback channel but mistakenly forwarded to him, he felt something twist in his gut. "Your barista at the 5th and Polk location made me feel like I was wasting his time. I asked for a dairy-free option and he rolled his eyes and said, 'This ain't a spa, never coming back.'" He didn't reply. He didn't forward it. He just stared at it. That store was one of the top performers. According to the numbers, everything was fine. But something about the tone, it felt like more than a one-off. So he made a decision. He became Greg, a new hire on probation, fresh out of community college, looking for part-time work. The manager at 5th and Polk had no idea who he really was. None of them did. He wore prescription glasses, dyed his hair a little darker, and used a huskier voice. It worked. No one even blinked. His first day, he arrived 10 minutes early. The shift lead, a wiry guy in his early 20s named Sean, gave him a quick nod. "You Greg, cool. We're short today, so I hope you can learn fast. That's Dana. She'll show you the register and how to do the espresso pulls." Dana turned around from the pastry case. She had tired eyes but a warm smile. "Hey, don't worry, I'll get you through it." Quentin nodded and followed her to the back. "Sean's got a style," she whispered while handing him an apron. "Ignore the attitude, just keep your head low." Quentin watched through the morning rush. Dana handled most of the front-line orders, drinks, small talk with customers. Sean mostly hovered near the register or disappeared into the back. Every once in a while he'd come out, open the till, count something, then pocket a few bills before returning to the back office. Quentin blinked. He thought maybe he'd misread it, but it happened again. And again. "Dana," he asked during a short lull, "Sean keeps opening the till. Is that normal?" She looked uncomfortable. "He says he's adjusting for change shortages. Happens a lot during shift change. I don't really ask." He nodded slowly. His stomach turned. By the end of the day, they closed up together. Sean handed Quentin the key to lock the front door. "You're not bad for a newbie," Sean said, tossing his apron on the counter. "Just don't screw up the register." "That's where most people get fired." Quentin locked the door, his hand tight around the key. Sean walked off without another word. Dana stayed behind to wipe down the counters. "You always close?" he asked. She nodded. 3 nights a week. I asked for more hours, but they said budget's tight. "So I pick up what I can." He studied her. She was fast, respectful, kind to every customer, the kind of employee any business should be proud of. And yet, here she was barely scraping by while someone else skimmed from the register. That night, he sat in his car for a full 30 minutes before driving home. He couldn't shake what he saw. He returned the next day, same shift, same cast. This time, he kept a closer eye. Sean didn't even try to hide it. Around 2 p.m., he popped open the till again, thumbed through the 20s and slid 2 into his pocket. Then he glanced over at Quentin. "You see something, Greg?" Quentin kept his voice flat. "Nope," Sean grinned. "Good, you'll last longer that way." Quentin clenched his jaw. He didn't speak for the rest of the shift, but he knew something had to happen. Soon. By the 3rd day, Quentin had memorized every crack in the tile behind the counter. He stood behind the espresso station prepping cups with Dana, who barely spoke except to call out orders or politely correct him. The rhythm of the place was grueling, non-stop foot traffic, machines hissing, the bell over the door never seeming to rest. At one point, a woman with 2 toddlers and a stroller knocked over the sugar tray. Dana crouched down to clean it up without a word while Sean leaned in the doorway to the back room, sipping a drink he hadn't paid for. The tension in the store wasn't overt, but it clung to the air. Every movement was efficient, quiet, cautious. Around noon, a tall man wearing the company district manager badge strode through the door. His name tag read Marcus, and he scanned the shop with disinterest before heading straight to Sean, who greeted him with a half-laugh and a handshake. "You caught us mid-rush," Sean said, motioning to the line. Marcus barely glanced. "Not here for coffee, just need your numbers for the quarter." As they disappeared into the back, Dana moved beside Quentin. "Watch, he'll be gone in 10 minutes, she murmured without looking up. "Never asks how we're doing. Just takes the report Sean prints and leaves." Quentin kept his eyes on the milk steamer. "You ever talk to anyone higher up?" She gave a short laugh. "Like who?" "No one's reachable unless you're a manager." When Marcus returned, he didn't acknowledge anyone else on the floor. He walked out the door with a nod to Sean and was gone. Quentin used the next break in orders to check the supply closet. The inventory logbook was sloppily kept ink smudges, missing dates, vague entries like restocked lids. He noticed a case of oat milk tucked behind the dry goods, unopened and not yet logged. That didn't match the register's recorded shortage from yesterday. Someone was over-ordering, under-recording, and hiding the surplus. As he stepped back out, Sean was leaning against the counter, laughing with two girls who had ordered frappés and were now lingering at the bar. Quentin moved to wipe down a table, but Sean called out to him. "Hey, Greg. Why don't you take the trash out? Back alley bin's full." Quentin nodded and grabbed the bag, maneuvering through the narrow hall that led to the rear exit. The alley was narrow, lined with dumpsters, and smelled like old syrup and cardboard. As he lifted the lid to toss the bag, he noticed something strange: an empty tip jar wedged between two boxes, the same kind used at the register. Its label was half peeled, but he could still read the name Dana written in faded marker. Back inside, he found her restocking napkins. "You used to have your own tip jar?" he asked quietly. She hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, we all did. Sean said customers were getting confused, so he stopped it. Said we'd pool and split them, but I haven't seen a split in months." Quentin kept his expression neutral. "You ever ask?" "Once. He said the tips barely cover paper straws and I should be grateful I have ours." Quentin didn't respond. He glanced at the counter, where the current jar sat no names, just a sign that said thanks. That night after close, he lingered at the front cleaning the espresso machine. Dana was finishing the drawer count when Sean emerged from the back with a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. He tossed his apron into the laundry bin and waved. "See you tomorrow, Dana. Don't forget to email me the numbers." "Again?" she asked, surprised. He shrugged. "You're quicker at it." "Besides, I'm slammed with supply calls." After he left, Quentin turned to her. "You always do his reports." Dana looked embarrassed. "Just the spreadsheets. He copies and sends them. It's easier if I do it right than fix it later." "Isn't that his job?" She gave a thin smile. "You're new. You'll see how things work." The next morning, Quentin arrived early again. This time, the owner of the building was standing at the front door with a clipboard. He was in his 60s, neat and businesslike. "You staff?" the man asked. "Yeah, just opening. I'm Mr. Kwan. I own this property." "Your manager still hasn't addressed the leak in the back. I've emailed twice." "I can let him know." Mr. Kwan frowned. "Not good enough. That leak's dripping into my dry cleaner's ceiling. If I don't get a call today, I'll shut the water off myself." He walked off, not waiting for a response. Inside, Dana was already setting up the pastry case. Quentin relayed the message. "That leak's been there 2 months," she said flatly. "Sean keeps saying he submitted a work order." "Did he?" "No clue." "I don't see those." Later that afternoon, a teenager with a backpack came in and ordered a coffee. He waited respectfully as Dana prepared it, but when Sean handed it over, he said, "Next time, don't just stand there with your mouth open. We're not here to babysit." The kid flushed and left without a word. Quentin turned to Dana. "That normal?" she sighed. That kid comes in after school, he's quiet. Sean doesn't like quiet. By now, Quentin had seen enough. That evening, he pulled into the alley behind the store and waited in his car. At exactly 9:10 p.m., Sean exited the back door with the same duffel bag. He walked down the alley, crossed the street, and entered a bar with a neon pool sign. Quentin followed on foot, waited 5 minutes, then entered. Sean was at the counter, pulling bills from the bag and handing them to the bartender. He ordered drinks for 2 friends and settled into a booth, laughing loudly. Quentin returned to his car and called the company's internal auditor. He gave them everything: the skimmed register, the hidden inventory, the tip jar scam, and the falsified repair reports. He told them to be ready to meet him at the store the next day. At 6 the next morning, he walked into the store not as Greg but as Quentin Teller, CEO. Dana blinked at him when he entered. "You look different." He pulled off the glasses and let the beard fall into the trash. "I should have done this a long time ago." Before she could respond, Sean came in through the back, yawning. "Who left the espresso machine on?" he muttered. Quentin stepped into his path. "We need to talk." Sean froze. "Who are—" Quentin pulled out his ID. "Quentin Teller, I own this company, you're done here." Sean's face drained of color. "Wait, what?" "I don't save it," Quentin said calmly. "You're being terminated for theft, falsifying reports, and employee mistreatment. There is nothing you can say that will change that." Sean looked at Dana, then back at Quentin. "You can't be serious." "I'm very serious." "Leave." Sean stood frozen for a beat, then turned and walked out without another word. Quentin turned to Dana. She looked stunned. "I don't even know what to say." "You don't have to," he said. "You've been holding this place together." "That changes now." Behind him, the auditor stepped in through the front door, clipboard in hand. "Let's get started," Quentin said. "We've got a lot to fix." The store was quiet for once. Not just because it was early, barely 6:30, but because the usual undercurrent of tension had lifted. Dana was restocking the pastry shelf while the auditor reviewed last month's transaction logs from the office. Quentin stood near the counter, watching the first few customers trickle in, each one greeted with a level of care that had been missing from this place for too long. He hadn't slept much the night before. After confronting Sean, he'd stayed behind with the auditor until almost midnight, reviewing camera footage and verifying discrepancies. The skimmed cash, the inventory manipulation, and the tip jar misappropriation were all confirmed. The damage wasn't catastrophic in dollar amount, but what it revealed about the work culture was worse. Dana emerged from the back with a tray of croissants. "We're low on the jam-filled ones. Should I mark them as out?" "No," Quentin said. "I've got a delivery coming in this morning." "From a supplier I trust." She paused. "You switched vendors?" He nodded. "Sean's orders were inflated. We're locked into a few contracts, but I've already made calls. We'll phase out what we can." Dana set the tray down. "So, what happens now? We stabilize, then we rebuild." Starting with people. A few hours later, the morning rush hit smaller than usual, but steady. Dana ran point up front while Quentin took over cleaning tables and greeting customers. It wasn't for show. He needed to see the flow, the bottlenecks, the real pace of the store. Every interaction mattered. Around mid-morning, a barista from another location showed up. Her name was Kiara, and she'd been temporarily reassigned to help cover the gaps. She'd worked at the original flagship store for nearly 4 years and recognized Quentin instantly. "You're not even bothering with the disguise anymore?" she asked quietly as she tied her apron. "No reason to," he said. "Not here, not now." She scanned the space. "This store's been on HR's radar for months. Nobody wanted to step in too fast. Upper management figured high sales meant things were fine. They weren't." "Yeah, I figured," she said, then nodded toward Dana. "She's sharp. Always heard good things about her." Quentin watched Dana refill the milk station without being asked. "She deserves better than what she's been given." Just before noon, the auditor stepped out of the back, walked up to Quentin, and handed him a folder. "Pulled the last 90 days. It's exactly what you thought. Sean was pocketing small amounts often enough to avoid detection, but over time. Adds up." Quentin flipped through the report. What about employee hours? There's something else, the auditor said. Dana's schedule's been manipulated. She's consistently clocked out early on paper even though she stays to close. Her time sheet's been shaved. Quentin's face tightened. How far back? At least 6 weeks, possibly longer. He closed the folder. That's wage theft, the auditor nodded. We'll make it right. As the lunch lull began, Quentin called Dana into the office. She hesitated at the threshold, unsure if she was being reprimanded or promoted. He pulled out the folder and placed it on the desk. You've been underpaid, she blinked. What? Sean altered your time sheets. You weren't just overworked, you were robbed. We're going back through the logs. You'll be compensated for every hour. She sat down slowly. I thought I was just slow at clocking out. Sometimes the system glitches. He made sure you thought that, her jaw clenched. I should have said something. No, he said. Management should have caught it. I should have caught it. She looked up. Is this happening at other stores? Not like this, but we're checking. Thoroughly, she nodded once. What about the others here, Nina, Lewis? They've been picking up extra shifts. They probably got hit too. We'll review all of it. Quentin paused. I want to ask you something, and I need an honest answer. Okay. If I offered you the assistant manager position here, would you take it? Her eyes widened. I don't have formal management training. You've been running this store without the title. You've handled inventory, trained new hires, dealt with difficult customers, and closed solo. That's not luck, that's leadership, she swallowed. I'd need some support, but yes, I would. Good, he said. You'll get support and a raise. Effective immediately. She stood slowly, still trying to process it. Thank you. Thank you for not walking away when you had every reason to. By late afternoon, a temp manager from corporate arrived to assist with the transition. Her name was Lillian, and she'd overseen store recoveries before. Calm, blunt, and detail-focused, she got to work without hesitation. Within 15 minutes, she sat Dana and Kiara down at the front bar to walk through new scheduling protocols. Quentin took a call outside, pacing the sidewalk as he spoke with his operations director. We're implementing a rotation, he said. Every member of leadership, including me, will spend 2 days a month on the floor, no exceptions. The director hesitated. That's a lot of time, Q. It's not a request. A pause, then. Understood. He ended the call and re-entered the store. Customers were chatting, the line was moving, and for the first time in weeks, possibly months, the atmosphere felt right. He stepped behind the counter to help pour drip coffee when a young man entered, hesitated near the door, then approached the register. It was the same teenager Sean had humiliated earlier in the week. Today, he carried a sketchbook under his arm. Dana greeted him. Hey. Back again, the boy gave a small nod. Yeah, I wanted to show you something. He opened the sketchbook and flipped to a page. It was a pencil drawing of the coffee bar, detailed, shaded, alive with motion. Dana running the machine, customers laughing, the light from the front window casting long shadows. It was beautiful. Quentin leaned over to look. Did you draw this from memory? Yeah, I come here a lot. It's usually a good place to sketch. Dana smiled. You captured it perfectly. The boy looked relieved. I'm applying to an art program. This is part of my portfolio. Quentin held out his hand. I'm Quentin. The boy shook it. Eric. You've got talent, Eric. If you ever want to post your work here, we have a community board. I'll make sure there's space. Eric glanced at Dana. Thanks. After he left, Dana leaned closer. He's always been quiet, but he watches everything, like he's sketching it in his mind first. Quentin nodded. That's what I've been trying to relearn. Watching. By close, the team had reorganized the back storage, updated the product logs, and implemented a tip tracking system with full transparency. Kiara made plans to return the next morning to help with training. Lillian sent a full report to corporate, highlighting Dana's readiness for leadership and recommending a formal mentorship. Quentin stayed after everyone else left. He sat at the corner table, sipping a decaf, reviewing notes. The place was cleaner, quieter, and not just in appearance. He thought about the hours Dana had worked without recognition, the customers who'd been mistreated. The money siphoned off bit by bit while no one looked closely enough to notice. He'd seen it all now, and he couldn't unsee it. The store hadn't failed. Leadership had. He got up, turned off the lights, and locked the door behind him. Tomorrow, he'd be back. Not as a mystery hire or a distant executive, just a man making sure no one got left behind again. The following Monday, Quentin arrived just before the sun cleared the rooftops. He didn't head straight inside. Instead, he stood across the street for a few quiet minutes, watching the morning crew unlock the doors and prep the espresso station. Dana now wore a clean black button-up with a name badge that read Assistant Manager. She moved with purpose, clipboard in hand, already delegating tasks. No hesitation, no second-guessing. Inside, the store was calm but purposeful. Chiara had returned to continue supporting the team, and a new hire, Matteo, was shadowing her at the register. Quentin didn't interfere. He took a seat near the window, coffee in hand, and observed. At mid-morning, a man in his late 40s entered, wearing a faded delivery uniform. His expression was strained, and his eyes scanned the menu for a long moment before he stepped aside and let others go ahead. Dana noticed. She stepped out from behind the counter. "You doing all right?" she asked gently. He gave a tired nod. "Just waiting on a break in my route." "Not sure I've got time to eat." Dana hesitated for only a second before grabbing a wrapped sandwich from the display case and handing it to him. "This one's on us today. Eat it when you can." The man looked startled. "Are you sure?" She nodded once. "You're out there every day." "Call it a thank you." Quentin watched as the man accepted it with a quiet thanks and took a seat by the far wall, sandwich still in hand, unsure how to react. No announcement, no fuss, just quiet dignity. A few minutes later, Lillian arrived from corporate. She'd been reviewing other stores in the district, now that Sean's misconduct had triggered a broader audit. She walked straight to Quentin's table and sat down without needing to ask. "We've got early findings from 3 other locations," she said, pulling out a tablet. "Nothing close to what happened here, but enough to show the systems need tightening. Inconsistent timekeeping. Managers manually adjusting hours without proper documentation." Quentin leaned back. "It's not just a policy issue, it's a trust issue." "I agree," she said. "We're recommending a lockout system for time edits. Only HR can make changes going forward. Managers can submit requests, but they'll need justification and approval." "Do it," he said. "And I want employee feedback loops at each store. Monthly, anonymous, and reviewed by someone outside their chain of command." Lillian nodded. "Already in the works. Also Dana's first weekly report, clear, accurate, and submitted 2 hours early." She flagged a supply issue before it hit our radar. Quentin didn't smile, but there was a quiet satisfaction in his eyes. "She's going to change things around here." Just then, Matteo at the register hesitated. A customer was growing impatient, a man in a suit, tapping his fingers against the counter. "I asked for almond milk," he said sharply. "This is clearly not almond milk." Matteo looked flustered. Chiara stepped in immediately. "I'll take care of it," she said calmly, turning to the man. "We'll remake that drink right now, no charge." But the man didn't let it go. "If your staff can't read simple labels, maybe they shouldn't be working here." Matteo's face dropped. Dana stepped in next, voice firm but steady. "That's enough," she said. "We've apologized and corrected the mistake. You're welcome to stay for your drink or take a refund and go." The man looked at her, stunned. "Are you serious?" Quentin rose from his seat. "She is, and I support her decision." The man stared at him, probably noting his business-casual clothes, the air of authority. "Who are you?" Quentin responded without raising his voice. "I'm the owner, and I don't tolerate disrespect toward my staff." The man muttered something under his breath and left without waiting for the drink. Dana turned to Matteo. "You handled it fine." "No one's going to get it perfect on day one." Matteo nodded slowly. "Thanks." Quentin waited until the rush passed before pulling Dana aside. "You didn't flinch," he said. "I meant what I said," she replied. "People can be upset, but there's a line." "You held it," he said. "That matters." By early afternoon, a few more customers trickled in, including a woman holding a printed job application. She looked around nervously before approaching the counter. "I saw the hiring sign," she said. "I haven't worked in food service in a while, but I'm looking for steady hours." Dana glanced at the form, then motioned toward the table by the window. "Can you stay for 10 minutes? I've got a break coming up. We can talk now." The woman looked surprised. "That quick helps us both," Dana said. "Let's figure out if it's a good fit before the paperwork piles up." Quentin noted it without comment, Dana already thinking like a leader, valuing time and initiative. He turned his attention back to Lillian. "I want to create a new internal designation," he said. "Call it anchor staff, people like Dana, Kiara, others who go beyond just doing the job. Let's give them a pathway, training, bonuses, real mobility." Lillian tapped that into her notes. Criteria, consistency, mentorship, measurable impact, and peer recognition. "Let the team nominate, not just managers," she nodded. "I'll draft the framework." As the afternoon wore on, Quentin stayed on the floor, wiping down tables, restocking sleeves, listening more than speaking. He overheard Kiara explaining the espresso calibration to Matteo in detail, walking him through settings rather than just telling him what button to press. He noticed the new applicant, her name was Jamie, sitting with Dana, laughing briefly during what was clearly a casual but thorough interview. Later, as the evening crew filtered in, Dana handed off the clipboard and spoke with each of them individually. Not just instructions check-ins. One had a sick child. Another was taking evening classes and asked for a shift swap next week. Dana handled it all with clarity and fairness. Quentin waited until the floor was clear again, just before close, and pulled Dana aside one last time. "We're implementing a new program," he said. "Anchor staff, you'll be one of the first. It comes with added responsibility, but also higher pay and direct input into operational decisions." She blinked. "You're serious?" "As serious as I was when I fired Sean. You've earned it, not just for what you did, but for what you've built already." She nodded slowly. "Then I accept." He extended his hand. She shook it steady and sure. Outside, the last light was fading behind the buildings. Customers trickled out with warm drinks in hand. The store no longer felt like a pressure chamber. It felt like a team. Quentin stepped outside, watching as the lights dimmed inside and the front door locked. He didn't feel the usual weight in his shoulders. Not tonight. Behind him, Lillian joined him on the sidewalk. "I've seen a lot of recoveries," she said. "This one's different." He didn't answer right away. "Then, it had to be. I let it rot from the top down. Now we're repairing it from the floor up." She looked back toward the store. "It's working." He gave a short nod. "It will, as long as we stay close to the ground." They stood in silence for a moment longer, the city glowing dimly around them. Then Quentin turned and walked into the night. No disguise, no distance, just a man finally leading his company the right way.